This production introduces Russell Lowe, who was born in Petersburg, Virginia. He became a resident of Waterloo in 1955 and worked in construction, building houses. Mr. Lowe worked in residential construction for almost 10 years before he started teaching in the Waterloo School District. In 1964, he became the first African-American male to teach in the district. He also worked in administration as the assistant principal at East High School in 1970. In 1988, he retired from the Waterloo schools. Shortly after retirement, he served on the Waterloo School Board for 2 terms. He has also served on other important community boards, such as Cattle Congress, Waterloo Urban Renewal, and Operation Threshold. His service extends to his work as president of the Waterloo chapter of the NAACP and political activities for the Democratic Party across Iowa. When and where were you born?
I was born in Waverly, Virginia, 1922.
You're talking 1922 in Virginia. What was life like for you growing up?
That was
in
the time
Virginia?
that things was totally segregated. So therefore it was 2 separate school systems, one for blacks and one for the others.
And you grew up in a segregated community, and you went to a
segregated school.
Segregated school.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I'm convinced, and I hate to say this today, I'm convinced that my education probably was better than the one that kids are getting now, because teachers then taught because they loved teaching. They teach now because they need a job.
You went to a HBCU, or historically black college and university.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about why did you go to a HBCU?
Okay.
And what was that experience like?
It was real simple. The reason I was a fairly decent student, and you notice I'm being careful when I say decent.
Okay.
And I got a scholarship to Virginia State College, and therefore you, with no money in the family, you go wherever money leads you. In Virginia, money led me to Virginia State with half of my expenses paid.
What did you get your degree in at Virginia State College?
I got a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Education, mechanical drawing, woodworking, those kinds of things. Then when I came here, 40 years later, I got a Master's in Education, Public Administration.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right. Tell me, why did you pursue industrial tech? What inspired you? What was the basis behind that for making that decision?
I was convinced that I was not going to be a teacher.
Okay.
So you needed to do something that you make some real money. As you know, teacher's salary has always been about the lowest paid people that you find. So I decided if I go in this area, I'd know a little something about woodworking and a little about brick mason, all of those kinds of things. And surprisingly enough, when I came here to Waterloo 50 years ago, I came to build houses, and if you check the records, you will find that I probably built over 100 houses here in the Waterloo community.
So from Virginia State College, is that in 1920? Excuse me, not 1922, 1940. Is that correct?
In the 40s, yeah.
Mm-hmm. In the early 40s,
Mm-hmm.
And then you would come to Waterloo in 1955. Is that correct? Okay. What led to your decision to come to Waterloo?
In Cincinnati, Ohio, I was having dinner at a hotel there, and I met a young fellow from here by the name of Denman Phillips.
Okay.
And he invited me to come out and assist him after we had a long conversation. To be exact, we probably had a 2.5 hour dinner, and you know, for 2 men to be sitting talking 2.5 hours that just met is real strange. But he talk the kind of language that I wanted to hear, so we did. And that was probably early January of that year, 55. And then I came out in March.
Tell me the story of how you met her.
It's interesting because I was a bachelor at that time, and of course her mother ran a store, and they spent more time, I thought, cooking than they did selling. So naturally, being a bachelor, you hang around where the cooking is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I and several times she came in while I, was visiting with her mother. We got to know each other quite well, as you can see. This is 50 years, so that.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I know she's very important. She will support you in all your endeavors. You guys are kind of a team in a sense.
Yeah, most of the things that we that we do, we try to do it together. She is the politician of the family, so I had to do the legwork. Okay. And she is a much better writer than I am, and I don't mind telling this. Most people, hate to admit that.
No, that's fine.
I'm the world's worst writer. So when I write a letter, the first thing I do, I hand it to her and say, "Now check it out." And when I see the letter again, it doesn't look like I had anything to do with it.
But that's good.
So that's the way we do things. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys complement each other.
Yeah,
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you get to Waterloo in 55,
mm-hmm.
approximately 55.
Mm-hmm.
It would be 6 to 7 years later, approximately, and you would start teaching.
Yeah, I was in the building business from 55 to 65. Okay. And to be exact, after I started teaching, I finished up several houses that I had started at the time. The only reason I agreed to teach at the time that the personnel director asked me was I thought he was asking me because he knew I would turn him down. Because at that time there was no black teachers at East High School. There were only 2 black teachers in the system, and that was one at Grant School and one at Kingsley, I believe it was. Those were the only 2 in the system. And both of those could have easily been anything else but black. Okay. So it was a little easier for them to hire them. So when they asked me, I figured that they said, well, if we asked him, he'll say no, and then we can tell the black community that we offered it to him, but he turned it down.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I see. So you felt you felt an obligation to do it.
Yeah,
because you knew there was a need.
Took a cut in salary.
Okay.
To do it.
Okay.
But I think it's one of the probably the best thing that I've done, because while I didn't gain that much myself, I have 12 or 13 youngsters that came through here, you and I, that I assisted in getting an education. And they wouldn't have gotten it if I hadn't been in the school system, because no one else would have taken the time to do it.
This is interesting. Let's talk a little bit about that, because here you come into the school system. You're the first African American male teacher at East High.
Right.
And how would the students, specifically, let's look at the white students, how would they react to your presence?
The interesting thing about it, kids will be kids. You don't have to worry about kids. I had more problem with the faculty. The kids were just great. Okay. I love the experience I've had with them. And David, I got 2 or 3 young ladies that took drafting under me, and I knew that the only reason they took it because they wanted to know what I was like.
Ah, okay.
They didn't. They needed drafting about like I need a bullet between the eyes.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
They wanted to see what I was like. And interesting enough, one of the young ladies graduated from Iowa State in architectural engineering, and the other one was a commercial artist out of Drake. So, and just 2 years ago, the young lady from Drake came back to town, and she wouldn't leave town without seeing me. I was the only teacher that she could remember that she wanted to see again.
Oh, impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, the white students embraced you. They
kids,
welcomed you. Yes.
Yeah. I tried my best to be fair.
Okay.
And I tell people it is difficult to say that you're going to treat everybody the same. You can't do that. But I tried to be fair. And
the white students generally were drawn to you for your fairness. They could see that because kids generally are real. They can sense things. They can sense a person's
kids
ability to be fair or to be unfair.
Kids are much smarter than we give them credit for.
Okay,
they are able
yes.
to pick up things that we are not able to see. And as I said, I think I know I was fair. If I make a mistake, I was real glad to admit that I made the mistake.
What about the black students? You're coming in. Okay, you get the. How would they react to your presence?
David, students never had any trouble with students.
Okay.
But during my educational career, I had more problems out of the adult blacks than I did anybody, because they could always thought that I could do more than I could do. See, okay. I served as you know, after the school career, I served 6 years as a school board member.
Okay.
And people forget the fact that you're only one of 7. So they think that I can turn the whole school system around because I'm there. I can change the tone of the conversation, but that's all you can do as one.
Right.
Is change it. Well, I knew that the conversation was going to be all right, but gathering 3 more votes to go with mine was just like trying to find hen's teeth.
Okay. This is good because let's talk about your move from the classroom, because you would be teaching at Bunger, you would teach at East,
yes,
you would teach at West. Okay, am I missing anything?
Central. Yeah.
Okay, you were teaching those schools in the system for about 8 years, 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, maybe.
And then you would go into administration. In fact, the article, there's an article in the Courier that talks about you, and talks about that shift from the classroom to administration. Why?
What happened? The district, Dr. Cunningham and I, was the recruiter of black teachers and administrators. We recruited several young fellows that we thought was great, turned out not to be so well. So when we decided that maybe the best thing to do is do it ourselves if we want it done right.
Okay.
So that's when we went from the classroom to administration. Now let me assure you, it was much more fun teaching in the classroom.
I bet, yeah.
Much more fun. But you needed the administration done correctly too. So you get in there and do it yourself.
You see that you have this niche for administration, for working with the students on a different level. Would this lead to your decision to continue your education at the University of Northern Iowa and you would get your master's degree?
Yeah, I'm convinced that's the reason. I see, at 42, I needed to be in graduate school about like I needed an Elgin watch, with a hammer, But I decided that I would get the. You don't like doing the work and listen to your peers outside saying that he's doing a good job, but he's not qualified.
Okay.
So you say, well, if you're not a total dummy, you can do this, so
right.
Why don't you do it? But I tell you, when you've been out 17 years and you go back it's a little rugged.
Mm-hmm. And so now I know that you were, an educator, you were in administration, you do a number of other different things working with people. Continue to do that by serving on a number of boards, working within a number of major organizations, mm-hmm. and also your political activity. You're very involved in the community in the way of politics. Let's talk about your involvement with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, mm-hmm. or the NAACP. Why did you join that organization, or what was your role within that organization?
I chaired Black Hawk County branch of NAACP for several years. Well, I always like to do things that's legal, and the NAACP was the organization that I saw that even though they were fighting discrimination, they always tried their best to do whatever they were doing within the legal system.
While serving that role, what do you think you were most effective at, or something that you accomplished that was?
Well, I thought if you go into the history of the Waterloo school system,
okay,
all of the black students in the system went to two schools, Grant, from Grant to McKinstry to East High School. So we thought that desegregation was a thing that needed to be done for the benefit of all kids, not just black kids, but all kids. And we say this because when I was in the system, I'm aware of the fact that new books went to West High School, and the used books from West High School came to East High School.
Okay.
So I'm convinced that the best education is where the best materials and teachers and are. So let's try to get the district desegregated.
Okay, gotcha.
And while I was teaching for the district, as president of NAACP, I sued the district for desegregation.
Okay.
And I went to the superintendent and told him, I said, now, here's what's happening, and I'm going to do what I have to do, and you do what you have to do.
Okay, so you went to the administration and told him?
Told him what I was going to do, yeah.
You recall as the superintendent at that time?
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. David, and I hate to say this, but now that, when you get 80 years old, say what you want to say, so you get away with it. So I knew that they couldn't fire me for my teaching. Mm-hmm. I was probably, out of his 890 teachers at the time, I probably was in his top 5. Mm-hmm. So you can't fire me for that, so why not sue him? So I did. Mm-hmm. And surprisingly to know, when they had the school board meeting, they knew the crowd was going to be so big that they couldn't get it in the administration building, so they had it at West High School auditorium. And my wife read the plan that we had for desegregating the schools, and I sit in the back like I didn't know what was going on.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And they did pass the plan that night, just as we presented it.
Okay. Let's talk about your involvement with some of the boards that you worked on within the community. Mm-hmm. Specifically, let's talk about your role and how you got involved in the Community Action Council here in Waterloo.
County Board of Supervisors appointed me to the board of the Community Action Agency here. And there was community action. You know it now as Operation Threshold.
Ah, okay.
One and the same.
Is it? Okay.
And I think I worked at these things so much, and I can't remember, but I probably chaired that board for 3 or 4 years. Yes. And again, this is a group of community people that actually the biggest group of the board members were people that needed their services. So, which made the assignment a little tougher than usual, because everybody's needs was a little bit different. But anyway, I chaired that.
Why did you feel it was important for you to be involved in it, to be on that board? Why was that important to you? Why that board? What did you feel you could do, or what did you do that made you feel like you made a difference?
The people that I thought that needed the services could not articulate their needs as well as I thought I could. And so if I didn't do it, there's someone else could do it. And again, as I told you, after working with Buckmaster McCoy and that gang, they constantly gave Walt and I a whole lot of heck for always finding somebody else.
I think now you're also serving on another board called the Urban Renewal Board. Excuse me, the Urban Renewal Board.
Yes. Okay.
Now you're the first. My understanding, you're the first African American to serve on that board.
That is correct.
Oh.
And
what's
I served there 19 or 20 years. Again, the urban renewal was strictly to go through a certain section of our city to either bring homes up to code or demolish them, get rid of them. We didn't think that the brothers was getting paid properly for what for their home when they were, taken over by urban renewal, and so the community decided that the reason that we were getting the short end of the stick was because we didn't have any brothers on the board.
Okay, all right, no representation at all. This is not good. You gotta have it.
Yeah. So what they did, they went to the mayor and council and told them that we've been letting you do this now for 8-10 years, and you're not meeting our needs. Mm-hmm. So why don't you find a brother or sister one to put on that board so that they can put a little input in there, so maybe we can get a little bit done. Okay.
Actually, there's two more we'll talk about your association or your process of getting elected to the Waterloo School Board. I think that's very important. What motivated you and
Well, it's again it's an interesting thing. I had no idea of ever running for public office of any kind. Okay. But I spent several years out in Bunger, and again, the only thing black out in Bunger was me.
Okay.
So if anybody asks you to run, you know. So evidently, I did something that the people of Evansdale thought was all right, so they asked me to run. I was so convinced that I wasn't going to get elected if I ran. I got the nomination papers, filled out the top part that I was supposed to fill out, and handed it to them, say, you folks get it filled out, and when you finish filling it out, take it down and file it for me, because I'll be out in Virginia. And they did.
They did it. Okay.
And I think the year that I was elected, it was 3 people elected, and I think it was 11 candidates.
Okay.
And I was the number 3 of the 11 people that was running. So I beat the person ahead that I was ahead of by 21 votes. So I didn't like that. So I decided to run another term just to show people we could.
Okay. That was close. That was tight.
Yeah, I show people that we could do better than that.
Okay.
So the next term I was the top vote getter.
Okay.
So
what, now here you're on the board. You served for 2 terms.
Yeah.
2 terms. What impact do you think you made, or how did you think you were influential on that board?
We came up with a discipline policy for the district that we think is fair, and we think it's fair because I've been I've been gone now 14 years, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
They could have changed it again since then.
Okay.
We did that. The other thing is that we worked at it hard to see that minorities were placed at every school building that we could afford to get minorities, because, again, I try to convince people that having your kids run from me here doesn't make sense. When he get out here in the world, he's going to run into me somewhere.
Okay, right.
So you just want to get him while he's young, because they seem to gel so much better when they're young than they do when they get older. So we got that done. The other thing is that I tried to convince the educators themselves that I was interested in what they were doing. I visited every school in the district at least 4 times every year. And I made it clear to them, I'm not coming to see what you're doing, I'm coming to see if I can be of help. You tell me what you're doing. I'm not going to run up in your classroom and ask what you're doing. I'm not going to do that. When I come, you tell me what you're doing and what you need to do, and I'll see if I can help you. And so I did that.
Lastly, let's talk about your role with the Cattle Congress. You were on that board. Cattle Congress is a very big deal here in Waterloo. Has a long history, and you were there for about 20 years. You served on that board.
Mm-hmm. Cattle Congress had been around 65 years. No one of color has ever served on the board.
Okay.
So Harry Slife, and I don't know, you might remember that name because he and his wife got killed in an auto accident up by the Corps some years ago. He decided that if this outfit is going to serve the public ought to be represented.
Good point. So
he said, why don't you, Russell, find someone black to serve on that board, and I'll recommend it to the board. So I decided that I would do that.
Okay, good choice. I'll do that.
Actually, I was going to find somebody.
Right.
But things got to moving faster than we thought. So Harris Life went to the Cattle Congress board and said, "You folks are about to deal in pari-mutuel." Mm-hmm. The person that know the most about pari-mutuel in town happened to be Russell Lowe, because he has done that down at the Quad Cities, so he has some idea what's going on. Maybe you ought to get him. Well, the director of the Cattle Congress wasn't particularly interested in me because he knew that I probably knew more about it than he did. And you know how some people, they don't want you to know more about them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, they finally, after a couple of meetings trying to find somebody else, they agreed that maybe old Russell Lowe should be the one. And so I served there until just a year ago. And I decided at 82 at that time that the rest of my life I owed to me. Mm-hmm. So I was going to do absolutely nothing. It was the biggest mistake I ever made because I'm busier now. I'm busier now than I was when I had a job. so I guess I'll be busy until I die. You know.
Yeah, you're a very busy man. In fact, you've let Cattle Congress go. Your obligations to that go on the board, but still yet, I know you're very active in politics today.
Yeah, I think it's necessary that blacks be in both parties. Okay. It is absolutely necessary. Mm-hmm. But I just happen to be a Democrat.
Now, earlier you mentioned a couple of times that you ran for mayor. You ran for mayor.
Yeah.
And tell me how did that develop? running for mayor here?
What happened, there were 2 policemen on the force at the time when they had problems with kids. They came to me and said, why don't you run for mayor? You have the disposition, you have the skills, and being a veteran, you got things going for you. And I told them, I said, well, this community will never elect a black mayor. I said, so why waste our time? And that was maybe 6 or 8 months later. They went, came back and tried me again, see if I had given up. So the amazing thing, but my position hadn't changed. So they knew that Reverend Rideout here, that he and I was pretty close. So they said, okay, we'll try one more place. So they went up to Rideout and say, now, we want him to run. And he told you, if you ever needed him, call him. So it's time for you to call him. So Rideout asked me to run.
Ah, okay.
And I couldn't turn him down because I told him, I would, and I did.
Some big name people politicians that you guys have ran into or ate with or had at your house.
Okay, we, John Edwards was in town just 2 weeks ago, and we got a call from Washington, from his office in Washington, that he wanted to meet with a small group of people before he met with the rest of the large Democratic Party. So we were with John Edwards. We had 8 people, and he wanted to talk about his poverty program that he has going on at the University of North Carolina. We've had Chip Carter there, had Maria Shriver there. When she was a youngster and cute.
So she came to your house when? You said when she was a youngster?
When we both were youngsters.
Okay.
Yeah. 20 years ago. So
she was at your house. Okay.
Yeah. But she and
Shriver. Who else?
Chip Carter was there, and one other one.
You ever won the Kennedys at your house? Did you?
Yeah. Edward, when he ran, Ted Kennedy.
Kennedy.
When he ran.
Okay.
And then we met him again when he came to Payne Church. He spoke at our church. Not this time, he came with Kerry 2 years ago, but he was there the first time speaking for himself.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing your story with me.
Yes, sir.
It's been great. It's been wonderful. I appreciate you making the time to talk to me.
Anytime, brother.
All right. Nice meeting you.
Yeah.